27 years, the NSL was the centre of football, fueled by the passion and spirit of the pioneers that built Australian football, with the immigrants that came from Italy, Croatia, Macedonia, Greece, and many more birthed the National Soccer League. It was their escape, their identity, their way of life. It was their game. But that was all about to change.
Football Federation of Australia to get rid of the ethnic-based clubs from the top level, as the old National Soccer League was done away with and relaunched as the A-League in 2005, with teams like Sydney United forced to play in the lower tier. The fear is that some of its oldest and most famous clubs could find themselves left behind.
Australian football was founded in the 1880s, and today we bring a discussion to talk about pretty much everything football from the last 3 eras. I'm here, Abdul.
Thomas, and we've got three special guests, three geezers, some would say. We've got Harry from SC Hellas. Harry, how are you, mate?
Welcome. How are you? Good?
Good, man. Thanks for coming. We've got Jude, JD Geezer. Jude, how are you, man?
Oh, man, I haven't heard that in a few weeks. I'm good, man. I'm good. No, that's top.
And lastly, but definitely not least, Mr. Joe Kay. Joe, how are you, brother?
I'm good, boys. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime.
So, effectively, we're talking about the 3 eras. We're talking about the NSL era, we're talking about the current A-League era, and the exciting news that came through, which is the NSD era, which is the National Second Division. So, boys, tell us a bit about yourself. Let everyone get to know you. Joe?
So I make a lot of Australian football content. Big fan of talking about the NPL, National Second Division, A-League as well. And yeah, I'm just a passionate football fan who shares that on the internet.
Yeah, likewise, man. Likewise. I think catching up with the history of Australian football, because obviously being from England. So I'm also learning along the way. It's rather than, you got people like Joe and Harry that can actually tell you a bit of the history. I'm the one that's learning and trying to accentuate that to the next gen, which is, it's been fun.
Harry, yourself?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I do Sunday League content, but by nature, I'm a product of it all. Like my father and Nonno Marconi, father Apia. So you just kind of knew about it growing up. And then no one was really talking about it. And then rumours of the National Second Division started. And then, you just kind of, I don't know, Joe and I both at the same time, probably like almost 2 years ago now, started to get involved, very hands-on. And then I suppose people just kind of look to us for information, despite the fact that I have no idea what I'm really talking about. But I will say I've read books like The Life and Death of Australian Football, things like that. So the knowledge
you
is
culture
definitely
yourself.
improved. And you culture yourself going to the games, which is what I do best.
Well, look, just because Harry did say that there, our views here do not have anything to do with Sydney Olympic, because we do thank Sydney Olympic for letting us actually use their facilities.
Shout out Caleb, man.
Shout out Caleb.
What do we think of the trophy room, boys?
It's class.
Pretty hectic, man.
Memorabilia City. I mean, look, we found this in the back corner. I'm buzzing.
Thomas, there's a little green flag there. Show that to the people. Right, that one there. Right, now this club is a Czech club. Show it to the camera, Thomas. Bohemians Praha. Praha's Prague, right? The English pronunciation. That is a kangaroo. The reason they have that is because in 1927 they did a tour of Australia. I don't know what camera I'm looking at, but you can all get it. But yeah, that's probably the sickest one here. I'm pretty sure that is the only club overseas that was not founded by Australians that has an Australian reference in it. I'm pretty sure that's some trivia for you. So if that ever comes up in football trivia, Bohemians Praha.
What book was that one in?
I wasn't. Joe told me.
You culture yourselves. There we go.
Sydney knows nothing.
We culture ourselves.
Can we agree on something? This club is way more successful than the Wanderers anyway. So,
Wow.
Yeah. Do you want to go there? We can.
It's Sydney while we're at it.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Come on, guys. Come on.
What's our Sydney FC? Now, so let's get on to the NSL.
Did you get for Wanderers?
Me?
Yeah.
What the
I was looking at that. I was like, why would you say that to him?
No, he was talking to you two.
Oh, right.
I'm talking to him because
We're
Do you want me to move? I'll sit you there.
It's alright, we're all friends now, guys. It's fine. That's fine.
Football friends.
The rise and fall of the NSL. So, run by Soccer Australia and then later the Australian Soccer Association. The NSL was the A-League's predecessor. Spanned 28 seasons with a total of 13 clubs, crowned champions, through either a system of first, the post, or the final series, and accumulated into the grand final. So the NSL was Australia's first national sporting league, predating the likes of the AFL and the NRL. Now the question is, how crazy is it that we were actually there before the AFL and the NRL, considering the position we're in now? Jude?
It's mental. I think we go back to learning about the history since I got to Australia and just falling in love with how far deep it runs. Like the more and more you delve into it, there's so much history. Is that word just doesn't even it kind of sums it up, but I think it sells it a bit short. Like there's so much to learn and so many different eras, and the game in Australia has been through the wars throughout this last century or so. But every single curve in the ride, there's so much there that is so unsung, and I think that's the beautiful thing about football is that you're always finding out how amazing it really runs in Australia and how long it's been here for.
And it's crazy how we still feel like we're in that chase, where we're still chasing that AFL and NRL, despite football being the first one to actually give itself a whole national competition.
Yeah,
it's a bit sad, but yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it's look, Australia and Australian rules and NRL obviously resonate with the people of Australia. They're Australia's sports in a way. Football being the world game, it's the way that I always describe it to people, because people always ask why are we still behind the AFL and the NRL, and I think the AFL, Australia has got the best AFL league in the world. No way, wouldn't have guessed it. Yeah. Easy competition, but even rugby league, it's probably one of the best in the world as well.
Yeah.
With football, obviously, it's not the upper echelons as much as it's derived from so many different cultures that have that. So I think we're, in terms of intriguing the everyday Aussie, who are intrigued by such high-end sport, like as much as we've got the history there, probably don't have the, I don't know, man, the gravitas or it's weird how it works. But even then, like I say that, and as if we haven't, or like we're not a group, but a whole room full of people that haven't madly fallen in love with it as it is.
Harry, just on to you in terms of, obviously we all know the history behind the NSL, and it is deeply engraved. It's been given the name Wog Ball, ethnic ball, the ethnic roots of the NSL. Being of an Italian background yourself, how did you sort of come into love with it, and how do we get rid of that or keep that ethnic way about this national sector?
I think it's very hard and complex, actually. For those who aren't aware, basically you had the wars, so you had people from all over the world fleeing to Australia, and then once they got here, they decided to create ethnic communities. They found their people from home, created communities here, and the main thing that brought them together more often than not was football. Like, you can look at Fraser Park for the Portuguese population, you can look at Sydney Olympic for the Greek, Marconi for the Italian, same with RPL Leichhardt for the Italian. So it's very hard to maintain that pride of almost like a national sense of pride, but also creating an inviting environment, especially when some of the cultures people come from are a lot tougher over in the motherland, and translating that to the Australian people is hard to do in an inviting way. So it's very hard. But the Australian media definitely did a very good job at ostracising Wog Ball, ethnic ball, for years on end. And they still did up until Rebecca Wilson passed away, to be honest. We're to be real about it. What she did against the RBB and things like that. They did a very good job. And it kind of elevated both VFL back in the day, and NRL, the Sydney Rugby League competition back in the day. They did a very good job at ostracising Wog Ball. And in turn, it then created a divide of it's us against them when it comes to the ethnics in this country. Yeah. And that divide, I still feel is there. You still hear comments made, and yeah, it's pretty wild, man. I'm nowhere near a solution on it. It's actually quite hard. The best thing clubs can do is develop a marketing strategy that invites people from the areas they're located in, instead of trying to target the ethnic. The ethnics will come regardless.
Or do both.
Both. That's what I mean. But the ethnics will come regardless of what you do, and then you need to find a way of inviting both Sydney United and Marconi need to find a way of tapping into that Wetherill Park, Liverpool area, regardless of what nationality you are. So.
No, but it's also important that culture is an important thing in our lives. I'm from Lebanese background, from Italian background, from Croatian background. Yourself, you're from England. You're a Pom. Even yourself, Joe. You take pride in your Australian, your Australian heritage. Yeah. It's important that that's a part of us, and the fact that as time went on, they took that that part away from football. You're taking away someone's identity at the end of the day. And I agree with you to a degree. I think you should be able to target your whole area, but I think it's also important that for example, we're here at Sydney Olympic. They turn around next season to all the great people around this area. Basically, look like we're back. Let's bring culture back. Let's try to, we're in an age now where, you can speak your opinion. You can kind of go out and you believe in what you believe in. So you may as well now go out. We want our cultural football. We want to show what Greek football is about. We want to show what Italian football is about. and kind of bring that back. And I think that's what's missing in Australia.
Just on that, that's rightfully so as well. At the end of the day, everyone wants the sense of belonging. Everyone wants to feel like they're part of something. Joe, obviously being around that NPL environment to the degree that you have, when you go to clubs, for example, with a Croatian background, a Greek background, an Italian background, Portuguese, Turkish, whatever it may be, how do you feel welcomed into their culture? Do you feel a part of it? And what's your day-to-day match experience?
Yeah, no, I always feel welcome. I think it's a bit of a misconception that people like me, who don't really have any probably ethnic background or any attachment to any of these clubs, can't go there and feel welcome. So I grew up in the country, came down, fell in love with the football here, the culture, and that was through going to matches, going to NPL games, seeing what it's actually like there. For me, I'm a big fan of culture as well. So I'm someone who actually enjoys learning about the history, the culture of it all. But yeah, on match days themselves, whenever I go down, I always make an effort to actually learn, get involved, and experience what that club's all about, because every club's unique. And that's the thing I love about the game here, is the fact that you can have a different experience at every club. And that stems from the fact that they all started in their own ways, in their own communities, and really just emphasise a different part of Australia that maybe the AFL and the NRL doesn't, the multicultural aspect of it all, which in a way is what's also held the game back, maybe because there isn't as much complicated issues where, you know, if you support an AFL team, an NRL team, you can just go to a game. Like there's nothing holding you back from going.
Yeah.
But I think the issues that do hold people back from supporting local NPL and ethnic football clubs is really non-existent. Once you go down to a game and experience it, you'll keep going back.
And you know, you mentioned a good point before. It's players coming through their community. Right? Players like the Capresciano, Grella Popovic, and Mark Schwarzer all come through the.
Shout out Mark Schwarzer, Colo boy, home of the Braves.
It's got to throw it in there somewhere.
Yeah. Shout out Marky boy, man.
If he's somehow finds the UBF page, man, I'll any dinner you want, I'll take it.
Marky boy.
How much of a presence do these guys play, you think, in that day, you know, right before we felt, you know, there was the demise of the league?
As in terms of what they did for the communities,
or they did for the league, or they did for football here in Australia while the NSL was still around?
Well, it's still, what they did was they were homegrown players, a lot of the time representing their hometown clubs. Viduka's probably the best example of that. Croatian boy coming through at Melbourne Knights, absolutely dominated the league as a teenager, and yeah, like the amount of pride that would give the community. In this sense, it was obviously a lot of that was backed by his nationality and stuff.
Yeah.
But you see it all around the world now anyway. If it's a hometown boy, an academy boy who comes through the side, it's just a sense of community. The kid from down the streets made it big, and I think that's massive for clubs. Yeah.
100%. And before we move on from the topic of the NSL, I do want to get into the question I've been most excited for. What really caused the demise? If every single one of you guys was in charge back then, what would you have changed? And what would you take from that era, and what would you leave behind?
Oh, I think it's such a hard one, because you had so many, and this is where people get so frustrated as to why it did collapse, is because at the time you had some football people in the football decisions, and if they couldn't figure it out, I think that's what really, I think, well, they probably burnt out almost as well, because it was so hard. Obviously, with all these, we talk about all the different additional parts as to why it was so hard to grow and get recognition, and all the obstacles that they faced at the time. I think if we were there then, and if we were in that scenario, having to navigate that from, and you think about the era as well, and think about what ways sort of clubs were marketing, and also actually who the audience was. Because if you think about clubs like Olympic, for example, you look at the sort of age range of the audience that they had, and in that time it was very much that generation. There was quite a firm generation, or maybe two, over that 80s, 90s, early noughties period, and that was starting to go as well, along with all the other sort of issues. So it's a really hard one to navigate. The things you'd probably take away is just staying true to that heritage. Unfortunately, no matter, it caused a few stirs, but if you calm them, obviously work through whatever parties need be to work those through. But that's where I think clubs got frustrated, obviously, because the franchise of the A-League came in, and then they felt like their identities were being sort of hidden a little bit, and they went, obviously, had the New South Wales Premier League level and so on and so forth, and that's where they really felt like they were that community that had been built through all those years. Like, we're here at a club that has been around since '57. It felt like that just was evaporated.
And I'll add another point. In 1998, they signed a 10-year contract worth, I believe, $2.5 million a season, that being the NSL with Channel 7. By 2004, they were not even showing the games anymore. They were showing a 1-hour highlight show, and I think it was at like 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, or whatever, it was really late in the night, and then they severed the contract. So I'm going to add that as a layer to kind of the issues back then. But
also, Sorry.
Yeah.
While you mention that, I mean, it probably doesn't sound too dissimilar when you say it like that to things that have happened in recent years in the A-League. Think about Fox, for example. Like that was a sort of that contract slowly dissipated, and then they just went, right, okay, no, do you know what? Shoot.
Yeah,
Finished caring about it.
I just find it insane though. You just, like I said, it's an identity. There was an identity back then, and then when they slowly strip one thing after the other,
Yeah.
I don't know how, A, working within it would have been, or B, actually being a fan where you just feel like your club's just evaporating into the
Absolutely, I think that's where it was just a domino effect of all these little these well, I say little things, but these building blocks that had made the league so amazing in what it is and what we all enjoy the Australian football landscape for. We're just going down. Obviously, you had fan troubles, and then you had media rights troubles, and so on and so forth. And it was just a downward scale where really, I don't know whether it's a few key decisions or a lot behind the scenes. But if we'd have been on that upward trajectory still, then who knows where we'd be exactly, man.
Joe, yourself.
Look, I mean, if we're talking about how to fix it, I've got no idea, because I actually think the issues are deeper than just football. It was probably more a society thing, right? Like it's not a.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I actually don't think Australia was ready for it, and they never really adapted to the fact that we have multicultural communities in our town. Everyone wanted everyone to assimilate fully and become Aussies, right?
Okay.
So, the NSL was kind of it was a foreign league, a foreign game that the general population didn't really want to be involved in. And then we saw the introduction of Northern Spirit, Perth Glory, Parramatta Power, these clubs that didn't have any ties to nationalities or anything like that. And a lot of them did have a bit of success. So I think that also played a factor in the decision makers realising that maybe that's the way to go forward with the NSL, shutting it down. But yeah, look, I don't know what you would have done differently, because it's a society thing for me. I don't even think it's a football issue. I just don't think Australia as a country was ready for it. And look, we still see it now. I don't know if it's still seen as a foreign game. You're going to struggle to get people out to games, supporting games. I don't know. I honestly, in terms of what I would have done differently, I'm not sure.
That's a million-dollar question, eh? Harry, just on that point in terms of society issue, I think me and you can resonate with this point as well. When I was young, it was a whole day thing. We went out, started at 9 a.m. on Monday, 9 a.m. Sunday, went to church, and then went straight to the game. That's how it was. And spent the whole day there, win, lose, draw, we're in the restaurant after, we're there until 11 o'clock at night. Now that's sort of been ripped apart. It's out of my life, out of my heritage. And for me, I feel like when I do have kids, God willing, I don't feel like I can pass that on, because society has moved on so far. And for me, I would like to bring in the media point. I think the media is one of those big issues. We're a society as well. I think those two in combination were the biggest factor that killed that league. Would you agree, or do you reckon there's another sort of underlying factor?
I think the main factor that gets overlooked and the main determinant of getting people to games in Australia is national team success.
Okay.
Whilst the NSL existed, the Socceroos didn't participate in one single World Cup. Neither were the Matildas around. Those things, when you think about it and what they do for the A-League and the W League in this country, if you think about what it does, and you actually weigh up how many people are going to games after those events, it's wild. We never had that. We never have. And what it does, it also unites the country.
Yeah.
That's what it does more than anything.
Yeah.
Especially you even saw with the Matildas, man. I had guys against the Island game going nah, I'd never watch women's football. By the end of it, they were crying when we lost to England. They were. They actually were. The local pub at the Lappo. It was something to see. So I think those things. I also think, media landscape. Like Joe said, I think it was just a society thing. I just think, it was very much if you come to Australia, we're also 24, so we don't really know, do we? But it was also very much come to Australia and assimilate at the time. And as it's gotten on in time, people have become more accepting of cultures for their food, their music, their way of life. So it's definitely changed that whole landscape in society as general. So I think we're in a much better landscape. In terms of what I do different with the NSL, I don't think you can do anything different. I think by default, and it's kind of a beautiful thing we're at, because we've tried the NSL model, which is foundational clubs that built up from communities, and then we've tried a franchise model. Now you've got both, and you've got case studies all over the place from both experiments, and you can see what has worked and what hasn't worked for each of them. Yeah. Both have had their peaks as well. Both have had serious peaks, especially the A-League's peaks. So there's obviously things we can take away from that. There's also the fact of we let clubs like Marconi and South Melbourne go into the abyss despite being financially viable when we took on things like Gold Coast United and North Queensland Fury. I'd love one more team up there, but it's besides the point of we took teams that weren't financially viable and we let clubs that dominated in the NSL era just go by the wayside, despite the fact they had all the assets and funding ready to go.
So on that as well, you bring up a really good point. Now, in these days, society's moved on, changing. We've seen all these different movements. So if we were to put the NSL model based on communities, based on ethnic communities, now, these days, do you reckon it would succeed?
Nah. You need a mix, I think, in my opinion. You can't, like, who the fuck's Jude going to go for when he gets here?
But also, I think that's where the beauty of it is, really. I mean, we talk about, you referenced a great point again earlier when you talk about we've had the experiment on both ends now, and that's, I think, obviously we'll get onto it. I don't want to jump the gun, but that's why I'm so excited for 2025 and for the second div, because this is going to be where we see what it is like with all the knowledge that we know about how things worked at this level, how things have worked at the franchisee level, and this is kind of where people come. But I also feel like let's use that as an example. Like if I was I'm a Pommy coming to Australia now, like the reason I gravitated towards Sydney FC was because we were living on the northeastern side of Sydney. I was like, okay, if I'd known how hated Sydney was among the community, I might have thought otherwise. But it was in too deep by that point. But no, like coming here now, I think it's also the match day experience that clubs create, where it is a mix of the two, and you see it a lot. Like I've been here for games at FFA Cup and obviously MPL level as well at Sydney Olympic, for example, and you can tell that it's a Greek-based club, but you can also tell that it's a football club for it's for the surrounding area of Belmore and beyond as well. So
that's what I said earlier about. They need to tap into that area, the area they're based in. They have to tap into.
Yeah.
They have to go beyond the nationality representative.
So I think I almost think people living here would around here would enjoy getting the Greek taste as well as it being the football club that they can resonate with where they live.
But it's also about walking. Like for example, with myself, I live in Western Sydney. I live 5 minutes from here.
Yeah.
But I try. Like I said, I've said it before. You give me shit every time for it. But I tried supporting the Wolves.
First club in Australia, do you know that?
Hold on.
First club in
Yes, calm down, and you've still done nothing since.
It's a different club, but carry on.
Anyway, you get to know. I got to know Sydney FC. I went to the games. I felt more welcomed and happy. And I told him a few weeks ago. I said, I think I've genuinely finally can feel like I found my club here in Australia. That's because you go out, you test it, whether you feel
because they're winning.
I was successful. But look, it's important, even with the NSL clubs. Yourself, you're a Pommy. Joe, you've got your Australian heritage. You don't know necessarily too much about these cultures, but when you get to know it properly, you feel a sense of welcoming in a sense. Like Joe, you've been around to enough MPL games to see different cultures. You kind of learn, and you learn to love certain things. And I feel like that's an important factor in what both of you guys said, is just giving them a chance. We're not in 1974 anymore, where my grandparents were coming here, and I'm not sure if Harry or grandparents around that time, where it was hostile, where you're either hanging around your people or you're not. Now we come from 5 different backgrounds here. Like times have changed.
It's a different era.
It's a different era. And it's up to us at the end of the day to kind of get that message across.
And I think that's the beauty of it as well. Now that you're going to be a bit spoilt for choice, like you're going to have the A-League franchises as well as the clubs with the community heritage.
On that point, 2005, some would say the death of the NSL completely, and we had when A-League came in, they tried the big marquees. Dwight York obviously came in that first year, and the big thing, however, where people caused a lot of controversy, was there was no promotion, no relegation. And obviously, in the 2025 updated version, some would say, the second division, there is going to be that. How excited are we for that promotion relegation?
Well, we're talking for the second division? Well, we're starting off with a Champions League model, so there won't really be any promotion relegation from the off. Yeah. But look, that is the goal. That is the goal for the competition. Yeah. Any promotion relegation with the A-League is a long way off. Just is, and it's got to be real with that. It's a shame, but A-League's on its trend right now. If second division picks up pace and steam, then who knows? Their paths might cross a lot earlier, and we might actually get it. But promotion relegation is one of the most unique footballing concepts that we've never really tapped into. Yeah, we've always been a cookie cutter copy of the AFL and the NRL, and what we're trying to do. Football has so many unique attributes, and we've never really embraced any of it, really. Even the fact that we would have a regular home and away season. Right now we get 3 derbies a year. It doesn't make any sense to me. No. There's certain things that I think we could embrace a lot better, and it would benefit a lot more.
Now, does that go back to? I feel this country is it loves a participation award.
No, I think
No,
it's
you're fair.
population based. You're talking about promotion relegation.
Yeah.
But in the sense
Other
of,
countries are football, just football, right?
Yeah.
So, like, all right, let's take Germany. The German population, whatever it may be, even if it's less than Australia, they are all focused on either. Well, no, it's just football, right?
Yeah.
We come to Australia, are competing with so many sports. So, yet alone the fact we only have 30 million people here, probably have maybe a few interested in football. So the financial viableness of it and the interest of it, it's hard to implement. It's not something that's going to come across very easily.
yeah, but I get it financial wise, but you've got everyone in 14 and a half people playing football. Like that,
Yeah,
that's
at
not,
juniors, but not at
still, but in terms of and that's a whole different conversation in itself. But there's definitely people interested in football in this country because they're willing to put their kids in there. They're willing to play at a high level.
Yeah.
Like we played like all age this year. You played all age, Joe. I'm sure like everyone here plays Sunday league because we love football because we're interested in football. But it just goes back to, for me, that's why I said a participation award. We have again, I don't want to name names. Never met the girl, but for example, we saw this year with Raygun at the Olympics. Like with all due respect to her.
What a niche reference. Didn't think that was going to come up in this. Yeah.
But we saw, at the end of the day, with all due respect to her studies and her talents, she didn't do very well at the Olympics.
If you're watching.
Sorry, but but if we embrace that for her coming last and not getting any points, I feel like that's a deep-rooted thing. I think it's called
Tall poppy
syndrome. And I just think we're also very much, we love it when you participated, you've included yourself.
I get that. On that point, I think the one person on this couch that can speak for others is Jude in terms of promotion relegation. Obviously, being in England, growing up there. How does it feel match day? I'm not saying your team has ever been in that place, but how does it feel match day? You have to win to survive. Is it just different? Does it bring people together?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to us about it.
Absolutely. But it's the
Wait,
same.
who did you go for over there?
I'm a Gooner. I'm Northwest London based, so.
Yeah, right.
From an
On
Arsenal
the
boy.
precipice of top 4.
So you've never. So have you ever really? No, you.
No, I haven't experienced it, but you can tell when you hear the stories. Do you know what I mean? Like, again, you said it yourself. Like, my team's never really been in that position, but it's just in terms of the vibe. Like, in terms of, like, you're watching. Let's take an example. Watching BBC Match of the Day, watching the final day races. What that's like.
Did you work in Sydney?
Yeah.
Did you work with Lafondra?
Yeah, big out.
I'm pretty sure he has one of the most famous goals ever in a relegation
Oh,
for Bolton.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
he
you
kept
might be
Bolton
right.
up in like the last kick of the game.
That would have been just before he came in.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he
yeah.
came
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
No
It was
way.
wild. Yeah.
But no, yeah, I mean, like we talk about clubs like that. That's amazing. It's also great. Also for the teams that you never really hear about. That's one thing as well. It gives them their own
Ipswich this year.
story. Yeah, exactly. But look,
Heidenheim in Germany as well.
yeah, 100%. But look, this is the thing where there's a couple of points, and I'm going to try not to ramble on. In England, it's incredible. Obviously, English football's been around for how many years, so they're in a position where it's possible. I think a lot of people in Australia, and a lot of people might not like me for saying this, but I think people are it's a bit of a cop-out. People are putting too much attention on promotion relegation saving the day. I think making that, like, yes, it's going to be fantastic. Games are going to mean a bit more, but it's not the only thing that's going to tip us over the line from being a bit of a league that people can't be invested in to saving the day and being, oh, sweet, we got pro rail now I'll watch it. Do you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people use that. There's a lot of things wrong with Australian football. There's a lot of things amazing about it. That's why we're all here today talking about it and giving it the care.
Yeah.
But people are putting a lot of attention on that. It's also like financial viability to do it, as I said before about England, like so doable. Australia, the jump between, and to be fair, funny enough, while we're mentioning it about England, clubs suffer. Parachute payments, clubs suffer, man. They get relegated from the Prem to the Championship, for example. Let's just use that top flight as an example. Clubs really suffer when they do, especially the clubs that are yo-yos. Do you know what I mean? Like, who can you think of, like a Fulham or something like that, or someone? Oh, not Fulham. Sorry, they're doing it right now.
Norwich.
That's an example. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like those clubs that are so back and forth, Southampton type stuff. Like,
should be mentioned for anyone who doesn't know, if you get relegated from the Premier League still give you what, like 100 million?
I think so. Well, if you get relegated, I think it's just all the changes. It's mainly all the changes in wages and stuff like that, and everything in terms of the club. You've adapted yourself to be a top flight club, and then you've got to go back to the level you came from.
Money, I believe. It just depends on where you.
I think it changes drastically.
But, you still get what they call this parachute payment for essentially slowing down your fall.
Yeah.
But that goes to show, like, the amount of money lost in the teams that are relegated is wild. That's something that people need to consider. Like, if a Western or a Jets or a Glory or not Mariners, if either of those three got relegated right now, they'd be just disband straight away.
Yeah.
There's no way you could even keep them alive.
You could argue that even for a Mariners, while you mentioned them, I know you kind of wanted to not touch on them, but great club, but at A-League level now as the what do you call it, back-to-back and triple winners and whatever, and champions and stuff like that. Man, they drew 4,000 the other night.
Yeah.
If you get them into a second tier,
and Raw
dude, literally, like how much does the community? And do you know what? It's funny that we mentioned this, the impact on the A-League clubs like this. In terms of this is why it's also a slow burn with the NSD. And again, we don't want to jump the gun.
Yeah.
But this is one of the prime reasons why promotion relegation is something that it's going to be eased in the next few years. It's because A-League clubs are sitting there and they've got clauses in contracts at the moment, and I think that how when it goes into something along those lines, yeah, man, it's long, because we need to see if the NSD is actually in this Champions League format and once it gets extended, if it's going to be viable and if it's going to be sustainable. And if it's going to be able to, it's scalable, it's going to be able to grow. And just be lucrative in general.
The way
That
they
plus,
might do it is they might bring clubs up before they do the relegation part.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
think will
Yeah.
happen.
As a trial, sort of. Just
And
yeah.
just on the whole promotion relegation thing, Abz, when you build a house, which way do you do it?
From the ground up.
Yeah. The A-League is sitting up here pretty. Promotion and relegation isn't something you can just chuck in there from the roof down, right? You need to build slowly up as a game, and we've never done that. We've never done that.
Yeah.
There's always been a gap there, and we're trying to fill it back up now with the NST.
Our system is completely upside.
Yeah. So it's tough, and I think people got to realise that it's not an overnight fix. It's a fucking decade-long thing.
Look, I do want to bring up one person, and Falcon, I know you love this guy so very much. Danny Townsend, you've got 60 seconds. Go.
Nah, fuck. Fuck you.
30
Fucking
seconds.
stupid dog. Nah, I don't, honestly, I can't stand you, mate. What a cop-out. What a cheap dog. Like, dead set. It's like a king hit Australian football.
Yeah.
That's dead set what he did. He cow punched it.
And then he left.
Yeah. Like, and then he left and went to Saudi. There's nothing wrong with taking the money. Just don't try and act like an honest, genuine person before doing so.
Yeah, it's that's what's kind of, we've filtered that many times since, like you said, it's been on since 74. And there's been that many people across the road that have either said or done something that have just absolutely thrown it out. But my thing with the A-League is, at the moment, I feel like we're in a semi-good spot. I think there's a way to kind of push it to where we want it to be before we get all the relegation and promotion. It's just a matter of figuring out how we can get these bums on seats. Because I
Play
think
matter. It's probably a start.
He's starting to
fucking 65th minute sub, you mad?
While I'm at it. Fucking hell, Stafford, you got no clue. Fucking hell.
Jed Drew for the soccer.
Yeah.
everyone's
Yeah, go on, Pop. I call Jed. Man.
Get your money's worth.
He works the Lapo every Tuesday night.
Listen, back on track.
Unreal couple of little segments there.
Just clip that.
Just leave that. We'll call it a day then.
But honestly, I'm being serious. If you want bums on seats, people who are coming to watch one matter.
Yeah, but at the same time, bro,
It doesn't matter if he fits the team, man. It's the fucking A-League. Play one.
That's also
Wanderers are shit regardless.
That's also the problem.
Hey, careful, we got me and Joe.
I
Here we go.
I mentioned
Here we
it
go.
last week. What pissed me off the most is when I realised that, for example, the Matildas are having friendlies against Brazil and Chinese Taipei while the season's still going. When you've got the Lionesses, for example, still in, there's no friendlies anywhere else in the
Pack
world.
that stadium as well.
But I don't care, Thomas. You need to show if they keep
It's fun in the
no,
league.
no, 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 no,
It's
no.
fun. It's fun in the whole show.
Hold on. But when it comes to people talking about wanting to show respect to the league, you can't be doing stuff like that. You can't be dragging, for example, to make a yell about a Brisbane Roar, knowing full well that
Is it respect or exposure, but?
Yeah.
We know you.
I know. No. I do agree with what you're saying.
mean?
I do agree with what you're saying. But their league is not an established league. So the idea is that their marketing campaign is getting the Tillies playing in front of people. And on the back of it, in the Tillies team, you have a bunch of W League players.
Yeah.
So when Tamiki Yallett plays really well, all of a sudden there's all eyes on Brisbane Roar W League team.
Of course, but at the same time, then you just mentioned before, play one Mata or what? He's not fitting the team. He's not doing well. Just for the I know you want to put bums on seats, but at the same time, yeah, you either bring people through the door or treat your team and treat the league. Just because it's the A League doesn't mean you just throw them on the field. You want to.
Nah, it does.
No.
Listen.
Dude, there's no jeopardy. There's
nothing to lose.
We're
And
in
it doesn't matter how. All right, bro.
These are the
team,
times
this
where-
is right. Joe will agree. The team's shit. But if you play Juan Mata, regardless of who is around him, he will do something fucking remarkable. Bro, we're talking about Juan Mata. What the fuck are we... We're not talking about, like, Bernie Avini. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro.
He's that
Great
Sorry to
derby goal,
Bernie
by the way.
Avini.
Great derby
He's
goal,
calling
by the way.
shots now, isn't it?
My problem with that is, at the end of the day, you turn the TV
But
on
the
and
team's
you can
shit
play-
anyway. Why not play?
Your brother hasn't played for a year.
I
All
fucking
right?
couldn't have played for 10. I'd
But
still run
when
in.
you turn the TV on and you can see that the brother can't move, and you think
He can move.
No, he can't.
I'm saying he can
It's
go
not
well.
one
He can
Mata
move.
from 5
One
years
of
ago.
the most attacking midfielders I ever watched in my life was a guy called Gonzo.
Yeah.
He used to play for Sevilla, but he played most of his life in Brazil. Bro, that guy could not run. I'm telling you, like, he's actually one of the slowest players I've ever watched. He's one of the most entertaining players, and even Neymar himself says he is arguably the most entertaining player I ever played with. It's not about the pace, man. The fact it's Juan Mata, like, the guy's played 300 Premier League games, and he's won a Spanish World Cup whilst playing in front of Iniesta, Xavi, and then on his left or right, he had David Villa and David Silva.
Busquets in the 6.
Okay.
Yeah, like, bro,
I get your
what are we
point.
talking
I
about?
get your point, Val. But my problem... No, I do. But
Like, I like Krayev, man, but fucking play one to 10. And Krayev is good, but I will say...
Hey,
like,
we
yeah,
might need
like,
another video,
you're
you know.
getting, the Wanderers currently...
I keep it in, man. It's
I know.
Australian football. You get distracted.
Wanderers currently, for example, and I'm going to wrap it up all back to that point. Wanderers are being coached by Alan Stachis at the moment, okay? Famously known for his successes in women's football. So if you watch any of Alan Stachis' teams, they're very transitional. He likes to play a 4-4-2. Now, Juan Mata can't necessarily track back or run anywhere. So every time I'm watching the Wanderers with Juan Mata on the field, I feel like I'm watching the other team do 100
Yeah, but my point is the team's not fucking transitional without him in it.
Okay,
There's
what
no
do we
fucking
do?
forward
Yeah,
pass.
that's
You
what
look,
I'm
you
saying.
look
That's
like you
what I'm
had
saying.
shit to
So
say
you
about that.
jeopardise-
Yeah.
You jeopardise the quality of the team.
Bro, the guy thinks he's Ange while he's in the A-League. Like, he's got this stubbornness about the way he plays, but the way he's playing just doesn't work, like, at all. The guy finished dead last year.
Yeah.
And then somehow...
This
the
guy,
A-League-
sorry, this guy's buzzing because you just sorted their clips on social for the week.
By the way, I work for the club, so I can't show my face.
Oh,
No, you fuck me. You gotta be honest.
No,
but like,
I
the
don't
only
want-
guy I've ever known to finish dead last, but it's also because he played decent football, was Vincent Kompany, and he got the job at Bayern. It was also the fact he was under 40, and it's Vincent Kompany,
Yeah.
not Alan Stachis, right? It's Vincent Kompany. Everything in the game you could imagine.
Yeah.
This guy, man, like the way he plays, the fact he doesn't play matter. Fahid Ben Khanfala said it, and you'd think that guy has a fucking idea of what's going on. Like the fact he doesn't play is just, it baffles me, bro. The guy will whip out some of the craziest shit. There was arguments to be made at the time, like Shinji Ono, the way he played wouldn't have fit some of those Wanderers players, man. But it doesn't matter. You just play him anyway because the moments of brilliance will come out.
Yeah.
You don't remember no one remembers how Wanderers actually played.
No.
Everyone just remembers that Shinji Ono could juggle it and hit a volley against Melbourne victory on the 6th
Yeah.
of January 2014. That was my birthday. I was there live. That's what I'm saying, but man.
Yeah.
If you want bums on seats, you play your marquees. You have to.
can I counter that and say, well, we're talking about things like marquees and stuff. I know obviously we said before that Pro Rail's not going to be the one fix. I think marquees is another thing where, yes, make the most of them while they're here. I'm fully agreeing with you on that.
You do need them.
You need them. Don't
Bank on them.
Don't bank on them.
Yeah.
Don't prioritise them as a means to fix Australian football. That's one thing as well. When you get the opportunity, if like a Wanderers have the opportunity to sign Juan Mata, unreal, you fucking take that opportunity. But you don't. I feel like a lot of clubs have spent a lot of time, and two ways to look at it.
Sturridges, they're
Fans,
stupid ones,
yeah, prime example. But clubs have been looking who's the big ticket guy we can get in and thinking that's the easy fix to get bums on seats, which obviously Del Piero method and stuff like that. You know, I get it. I get why it's an easy go-to idea. Obviously, it takes way too much funding. So, but also on the fan side of things as well, people, yeah, and we've got to remember while we're sitting here, which is, I love everyone in this room. It's been fucking incredible. One thing, we are so immersed by the game. We kind of need to look at from the outside a little bit as well. Yeah, at people that aren't, like you talk about the Matildas before, why aren't they coming and watch the league? If you look at the brand that the Matildas, people are only just getting captivated by that. Do you know what I mean? They haven't, some of them probably don't even know what the A-League is, to be fair, which is honestly sadly true. As much as you think it should go hand in hand.
You're not wrong.
But-
sorry.
Well, no, continue.
Yeah, but just on that, in terms of February 2023, Dwight York said it's time for change. So obviously there was a couple of issues in the car. We're not going to go into that. But we've tried the marquee routes, as Falcon said.
Yeah.
We've had the peaks and troughs with the Wanderers coming in, them dipping off, active fan bases, villainified, praised. What is this change? Is it the NSD or is there something else that needs to change for the A-League to survive?
Well, I think if you're a man like Dwight York, and obviously he's seen Australian football in that era of 05, 06, and he came back for what 6 months, and he could really tell that shit's not changing and improving. It really doesn't it doesn't take us that, but it's such a huge question. Like there's so many things that I think need to happen. We talk about all these little
Dwight
things.
York was more a question of MacArthur rather than the A-League.
He was definitely talking about MacArthur, but they are quite an example as to like if we talk about and nothing against the people at MacArthur, but if we talk about let's talk about franchise model that might not have worked. MacArthur's obviously it's taken time to get off the ground. There's no denying that.
Yeah,
So when that's your example as to what Australian football's like nowadays, you kind of get where he can be generalising a little bit.
But Dwight's example of like his first experience in Australian football was joining Sydney FC.
Yeah.
When it was a one city team, and the owner also basically owned the league, which doesn't happen.
And
anymore.
the excitement about this new franchise was prevalent at the time as well.
Yeah.
First year.
Joe found that funny.
I did find that funny.
It is, bro. It's wild that it happened. But so that's Dwight York's first exposure, and then his second exposure is MacArthur. So naturally, he's going to just go, yeah, this isn't doing well. But MacArthur have done a very good job at transitioning into now starting to build a fan base and actually engage their audience and play out of Campbelltown.
It's coming.
They're coming. Western, I don't know, but yeah, it's Dwight York's also not like the greatest like character of judgment to base everything off. I know he's an unreal footballer, but like. Some of the things he said whilst he was out here, like he's not the greatest person to judge. Like when he would make judgments on people in the game and things in the game, take him with a grain of salt. Like I know he's a great footballer, but he also didn't grow up around the game, so he doesn't understand the complexities of it all. Mm-hmm. Like he came here when the A-League was fresh. He would have got paid a mozza. He would have fucked off straight away as soon as Who replaced him? Was it Romario? No, it was a Brazilian.
Adelaide guy, wasn't it?
No, Romario was
as the league
someone
came,
was, and then he was gone as quick as he came. But yeah, I don't know. His comments are hard to kind of. At the time, the MacArthur thing was true, but MacArthur, I believe, have really come good. And yeah, he's made other comments along the way. I don't know if I agree with him.
Harry. I feel like it does have a point where you look at it and you go, it does need to change because obviously like everyone, even Jude and Abz can agree. Maybe you watched football back in 2012. But it's like the Wanderers did revive the league. You can't argue with that, Harry. You can't argue with Joe. The Wanderers did revive the league. And then 16-17, the Wanderers sort of dipped. Victory sort of dipped. And then you had FC's, right? And then after that, it's like from 2020, okay, COVID didn't help. 2020 to now, it's like, fuck me, we're averaging what, 3-4 a game. What is that part?
I'll be completely honest with you, and I'm not sure how much you guys know. Jude, you've been around enough players to know. My biggest thing with, for example, women's football is they sell the personalities really well. So, for example,
does that work in the men's game?
Let's get to that point. When it comes to selling the women's personalities in football, you go watch the Women's World Cup a couple of years ago, for example, in 2023. Sorry, you look at the lionesses. Ella Toon was all over TikTok. Her and Ella Sirius showed their friendship. You start wanting to go out to games to actually see the players themselves because you get to see who they are. For example, I remember after the first derby this season, we were on the field, finished up all the photography stuff. I'm walking back, and Jordan Courtney-Perkins walks up to me and he's like, "Fucking we smashed them," and blah blah blah. Like when you actually get to see these people for more than just what they do on the field, it gives you a bit of a reason to actually want to go. Like, for example, we filmed out with Dylan Perez a few weeks ago. You get to know the guy.
He was brilliant,
Brilliant guy. And then, you start to actually follow Adelaide's progress a bit more. We checked the game yesterday, 4-0.
Yeah,
but for me, that's that you got to look
correct.
at the outside perspective.
That's for you in a privileged position. But in terms of that average fan, how are they going to connect with those players?
That's
Are you saying for players to build their personal brand?
So on personal brand, like going out there, showing a bit of character, letting the players show a bit of character. Like it's like you see it. The women don't do it intentionally.
Thank you for stepping in and mediating. That's a fucking married couple these days. Oh man.
Hold on.
He wears the
flaw in your comparison of the girls' game in Australia and the men's game is the girls are a lot closer to the elite level of football than the men's are. So the men's gap to the Premier League. Let's take Champions League football and the A-League. The gap there is remarkable. The W League to, what would you say, the NWSL over in America and the EPL, WSL, the gap's like that. Yeah. So it's way easier for someone like Tamika Yallop and I don't know, just Claire Hunt and all that they automatically just get a brand attached to them purely because our level of football in the women's is like a top 5 league.
But Australia's very centralised in what they do in almost everything. So for example, when you've got players like, I don't know, like a Ryan Grant, who would probably have like an Adidas or a Puma or a Nike sponsorship. you compare that to who would have an Adidas or a Puma or a Nike sponsorship in the UK, it's not very different. We are very much within our own community. Yeah, we follow a lot of the US and the UK, but if you're telling me, if we get to know or we get to see a bit more of the players that we follow,
It's on the players to do it, but
Yeah, it's on the players, and I think with the using the women's
Some
game as
people
an
are just
example
boring,
as well.
But
Some people can't be asked.
Yeah.
Some people can't be asked. Some footballers love
Some
the
footballers don't
I
like
play my football, I
Yeah.
fucking focus on my game, and then calm. If I need to do media duties, yeah, sound. And trust me, we've had them at Sydney. I've seen them at other clubs, etc. Like where there are certain players that you know you can rely on because they're so bubbly in front of the camera and they love the media side of things. Some players don't want to fucking bar.
Yeah, I had it Marconi last year. Like,
Yeah, 100%. It would happen.
Very-
you're telling me if you're a 7, 8, 9-year-old boy, you've gone to a Sydney FC game, and
Yeah.
let's just say Max Burgess rocks up to you,
Yeah.
signs your T-shirt,
Yeah.
takes a picture with you. You don't remember that for the rest of your life. You don't want to.
But that's the thing. But that's we've got that. So I think what going back to your original point about using the Women's World Cup as an example as a springboard for women's footballers. I think with the women's game, a lot of what was so amazing about seeing the uprise in women's football is just how much it was empowering the female sort of the market.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's I think why girls loved seeing girls on the big stage and they learnt their personalities through that. So I think it's apples and oranges in the men's game. I think that like everything that's happened with the rise of women's football and the women's football personalities, and you see how invested people are into the Matildas' personal journeys now, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's its own kettle of fish, I think.
And another thing for me is I don't think all the A-League clubs get out enough. I think you guys do it very well. I think you get out to schools, do all these programs well enough. I don't think other clubs do it well enough, and I think that's a big thing. That's why even when, let's be honest, you guys haven't had the best last 3, 4, 5 years, they'll still, compared to, let's just say Perth Glory, for example, they've won, they've just had a shit go. Even if MacArthur shit the bed for the next 3 years, they will have no one at the games. You guys still have people rocking up. It's because there's a presence there. Yeah. And I think the biggest issue with getting the crowds out there and getting people to games is kind of selling it to find an age group, sell it to them, and try to get them at the games. And then that's it for me.
Well, on that point as well, I think we're not going to have an issue, believe it or not, with the NSD because you've got those communities in place.
It's also because of the anticipation of it, but
yeah, it's been big news for a while now.
It's
Like,
massive,
big.
for 20 years, like that's right. Like that's what they've been waiting on.
So it's come out now. People are saying 2025. We're not going to get its full effect until 2034. Joe was saying. Harry, explain it to us. What is the goal of it? Do you reckon it's viable? Is it going to succeed?
I don't know if Joe agrees with this, but I think it's been done purely through pressure at this point. I think
he's agreeing because he's not in his head.
I think it's a byproduct of the fact of like the amount of talk and pressure of it. They've gone, fuck, we'd rather do it, show you it might not work, and then at least we can say, fuck, we had to go. I don't think they'll do it properly.
So you reckon they're half-assing it?
No, not half-assing it. I just think they're doing it because...
Do you think if it wasn't such a big talked about topic, they wouldn't have done
They
it?
wouldn't give a fuck.
We're not at a point where anyone would have gone and made the first initiative and consider, hey, maybe it's time we make a second division.
Well, it's been talked about for years. Like this is like it's went big. Like we're all hearing about it now because it went big, right?
The Australian Cup revived it, I reckon.
Yeah. But this has been a topic for like near on like 10 years now.
Yeah.
Like it's been around for that long, but it never got as much traction as it has in the last 24 months.
Yeah.
Partially credit to content creators. Back to your point quickly. If clubs want to get people in, they need to collaborate with content creators. Every A-League club. But beyond that, the NSD, what it is for people wondering, so it'll be a format of 16 teams, and it'll run after the NPL season in November, December. So the format is you have 8 foundational clubs. So I'm just going to go off the dome here. You got Wollongong, Sydney United, Marconi, RPL Leichhardt, Sydney Olympic. And then we have down in Victoria, we have Avondale,
Preston.
South Melbourne, Preston.
Yeah.
Preston and NPL 2 down there as well, which is remarkable. Then the 8 foundational club, now NPL 1, right? Yeah. But NPL 2 at the time of the announcement, yeah? Yeah. Then...
Pulling like 5K.
Yeah, they pull, well, yeah. That's the thing, that's it. We'll get to that point.
Go.
We'll get there because of...
Jude, mate, calm down.
Sorry.
They're a special case study because they have a small country, like that's their motherland, but a massive community in Australia. That's hard to emulate, that type of thing. You see with the Italians, we have both Arpia and Marconi, but Macedonia, we just have Preston. So all Macedonians in Melbourne will go to Preston. Yeah. And Rockdale gets good numbers when the game matters, but when it doesn't, there's no one there. But anyway, the 8... No, I love them.
Where are we filming now?
Bro, that was the best.
Right now?
Bro, the best food I had this year was at Rockdale. But the 8 teams, so there's 16, the 8 foundational clubs I just mentioned, regardless of where they finish, they're in the national second division at the end of the year, right? And then we have the 8 invitational clubs. And as far as I believe, they are the winners of all their comps. So the NPL, the top of NPL in each state. And then I believe it would be the highest place finisher. Say South Melbourne were to win it in Victoria and Marconi were to win it again in New South Wales. It would be, say, Rockdale finished second. They would be the invitational club. And in Victoria, say, I don't know, and Oakley Cannons would be the invitational club. So you then have 16 teams and they're divided into 2 groups of 8, right? So you take one group of 8, they verse each other all once. The second group of 8 verse each other all once. The top of that group, by the end of those 8 games, plays each other in the final for the inaugural national second division winner. So that's what we have on our hands.
And you know what? Yeah, as a starting point, sound. I think a lot of people are pressed about the fact that you know, and yes, along the process, there's been a lot of, I wouldn't even say broken promises, but a lot of like ideas that couldn't realistically put into practice so soon. This is the thing. I completely do resonate with what you say, and I feel I get it. Where it might be a case of they've just kind of bowed down to pressure, where because of how with the, I wouldn't even say limited resources, but just with where the game's at as a whole at the minute, they're doing whatever's possible to get the ball rolling on it. And people are cut that it was obviously the promise was February. The promise was years ago. But let's be again, like I say, the goalpost moving. But as long as it's happening, like I feel like if people sort of personified the fact that it is such a hard, like people just don't realize how hard of an ask it is. And a lot of clubs are really, and I that's why I credit every club that is involved and there from the start, and we're like, yes, let's absolutely do it, because there's a lot of sort of money, I'm not going to say trust, but like sort of basically just man. But it's also just hope. It's hope that their money goes where again, sustainable, and it's a big ask for the Australian football landscape. Do you know what I mean? I think it's simple as that.
I will say something that's very overlooked in this whole scheme of things is that it is a way of entering the expansion market without fully committing. So they will be a Northern Territory side. That, bro, an away day in Darwin would be fucking hectic.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the pub days?
Yeah, bro. Crocs, like, if you go to a pub on the water, there's Crocs here, shit like that. Like, it'd be hectic, man.
Do you ever seen a Croc?
No, come on, yeah. Haven't you?
Oh, no, not in the wild.
Mate, we're going.
What did you say? Some mad snake this morning. There's some mad snake you saw this morning.
I saw a brown snake this morning.
Yeah. I've never seen a snake.
Just FYI.
Yeah, bro. I've been in Oz for 10 years.
Yeah, Blackson and Wimberley. That's where I'm from, Wimberley.
Hey, that's what I was going to ask you. Would you take Juan Mata at Blackson?
Yeah, I'd take Juan Mata.
Yeah, come.
But my Spanish star boy at the moment is a bit better than him. But also entry into the Tasmanian market, and arguably as well, I don't know how WA works, Joe. You might know. I don't know if it's strictly Perth, their competition.
Essentially is all within probably a 3-hour radius of there, I'd say.
Yeah. But I was about to say there's room for the WA and the Queensland comp as well. The football Queensland thing we won't get into.
Yeah, when they sort their shit out. Yeah.
If a Gold Coast was to win it, those major cities that are getting exposure, Canberra as well for the men's game. So there is a way of the game will expand into a national market without fully committing itself.
Yeah.
Whoever came up with that idea is genius.
Yeah.
Instead of just those 8 foundational clubs, which I thought would have made it a very closed-in space. With those 8 invitationals, you're going to have Sydney United going down to Sydney United going down to Gungahlin in Canberra. They'll probably do it in Canberra comp. It'll be hectic.
This is where I'm buzzing with what we said before about this is the time where you can take those clubs with history and all this backing and whatnot. You've got those 8, then you've got the invitationals. Talk about, again, to reference it, when we talk about the mix of the lessons learnt from the NSL and the A-League and what's good about both. This being the mesh of all of that, and hopefully that is where it thrives, is because you've got clubs like that, like Olympic, like Apia. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you've got these invitationals. I'm excited to see how the dynamic changes and how again, that's why another point touching on what we said before. That's why I don't think it's pressure for people to come into Australia or wanting to follow teams, because you are sport of choice now, I think.
It's really a dip your toe in moment. See how it goes.
Yeah.
So, I'll say this, and a point that Falcon made. I think it's a dangerous game. I don't think Tasmania, for example, is going to work anyway. You see Hawthorn take their games down a few times a year. There's nothing.
Yeah, but that's no.
Even-
You're missing the point.
To counter that though, while we're on it, Western United had a couple games down there and had like 5K.
Yeah, but that's the occasional. You know,
Yeah.
Hawthorn.
No.
But for Western United in Tassie, like
But-
who near to Melbourne really cares about Western United? Tassie had 5K.
Yeah,
I think anyone cares about Western United,
Western United's older.
Okay, you're all good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not burning bridges.
voice of reason. But Tasmania, I'm a Hawks fan. When I was 5, they didn't win a game, so I felt bad for them.
You're gonna have problems.
Yeah, I was very lucky with that. Shout out
Oh,
Silrioli,
come
the actual
on.
goat. But that's 2 podcasts in a row with you boys. I've mentioned Silrioli.
When's the third come?
Hold on.
Brad
But
Johnson, my God.
the fact of the Tasmanian club will be from Tasmania. So your case study of Hawthorn or
Yeah,
Western United, whether good or bad, going down there.
Yeah.
it
kind of
doesn't- it-
null and void a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't really. The main variable of it is the fact that they aren't a Tasmanian club by nature.
Yeah.
So until you actually have a Tasmanian club by nature, then you will be able to say, "Hey, will it work?"
Okay. The other thing.
They'll get around it, man. Tasmanians are very they're weird, but
There's
like
only
they're very
6
patriotic. Like they are, but they are. They're very. I'm from Tasmania. Like they are. That's part of their as a people.
Well, then they'll support it.
That's what I mean.
That's it.
But look, the other
If the
thing,
club markets well, that's the main thing.
the other thing for me is the way the Australian government's been marketing certain areas. They've been pushing Perth recently. Like every event that's coming, UFC, they've taken State of Origins there. I think they were in talks to take a grand final there from the NRL.
They were
not too
trying to
long
do a
ago.
footy, redo the North Sydney Bears out there, weren't
Yeah,
they?
they were trying to relocate the North
I'm
Sydney
not going to
Bears.
start talking footy. I
don't
know
how that
jack
makes sense,
shit, bro.
North Sydney Bears.
Yeah,
Because
a whole nother kettle of
that's
fish.
sort of conversation.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is I think the government's going to play a big part in that too. Because let's just say you start a team in, I don't know, Darwin, and they're not really pushing Darwin, they're not pushing anything that way. It's not giving people a reason aside from going to watch their team.
Yeah, but,
Like,
but the
you've
reasons.
got to ask yourself when it comes to non-traditional football areas in Australia, unless the government's
They'll
pushing
go-
traffic through there, and it becomes a tourism spot, it's very hard to tell me you're going to push a team in Tassie, you're going to push a team in, I don't know, in another part
Gotta
of
look
Western
organically,
Australia.
But it's all about connection. Humans are innately striving to be part of a community.
Tribal, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like we
yeah,
want to
yeah.
be a part of something, right? So if you have something in your town, like you could do it in do it out in bloody Central West, man. But you get 5K there if they feel like they're actually part of the club
I'll go to
and
Carrington
they're
Park.
represented.
I'll give
Yeah,
you-
get up Pampers afterwards.
I'll give you another example. The NRL just announced their 18th team in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay? Papua New Guinea.
Was that, yeah, PNG?
Yeah.
It's a government thing. It's a government
Yeah.
thing. Just move on. Move on.
Going back to Joe's point, PNG are over the moon that they've got themselves into. But
Of
because
course.
it's not a traditional spot, there was already backlash from, for example, Isaiah Yeo the other day, in terms of, it's too far, it's not really going to work, it's blah, 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 because it's not in the norm. Had they opened the North Sydney Bears team in Perth, they were already talking about the exact same thing. People will always find a reason to complain.
Yeah, but they're not people in the area complaining.
Correct.
It's all about the area. Like clubs need to think about themselves, right?
Yeah.
And for a long time, it's always been about the A-League. What's the A-League doing wrong? It's like a holistic view, but just be selfish as a club sometimes. Care about your area and your people. That's what you got to be passionate about because that's how you build your
I'm
club.
going to leave you with a little story. There used to be a tree outside my house that we actually enjoyed. Okay.
Where are we going with this?
Tree.
The people of our
Just
the people of our area actually enjoyed the tree. The council didn't give a fuck. They cut the tree down and they moved on. I'm telling you, at the end of the day, it's what the government wants to
Did
put.
anyone resonate with that?
No,
I'll be
no,
right.
I honestly, I fully comprehend.
I
what you're
get
saying.
it.
But bro,
Joe just gave me a thumbs up and please move on.
no, listen to like where I'm from, right? Blue Mountains, Penrith. Penrith are a perfect example of what the rest of the country thinks of us. Goes out the window. It does not matter what the government wants to do with Penrith, what they think is right or wrong. The Panthers have the full fucking support of everyone between Mount Druitt and Lithgow or Bathurst.
Yeah.
Like you'd probably know,
shut
you're from
up.
out there, right?
Yeah.
Penrith, no matter who you're from, like what. We're also different out there. We're so many different types of people.
Yeah.
But everyone between Bathurst and Mount Druitt is a Penrith Panthers supporter. It will be the exact same. It could be Darwin Juventus, who I think would probably be like the number one team up there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I just go off Oz Cup every year. They seem to do a good job.
Yeah.
So like,
They're in it.
it wouldn't matter about the fact they got Juventus in their name. The fact they got Darwin, man. Anyone who likes football in Darwin will go. Tasmania, everyone will go to South Hobart. I almost guarantee they'll be the team.
Yeah,
But yeah.
Just lastly on that. Before we move on, My sort of thing is being at United, and as I was explaining before, that sort of culture, that sort of match day ritual is gone for me and my family, and I know a lot of other Crows in Lindsay Park as well. Harry, you ventured out there a couple of times as well.
Yeah.
If you guys had one thing to say, especially those 16 teams that go this year and next year, and in the predecessor years after for them, is if you had one message to those fans, because there is a lot of animosity, even before I joined the West Sydney Wanderers, there is a lot of animosity between, especially those early NSL teams to now the second division. What would you say to those fans to get them back?
So, wait, go again. Go again.
And the NSL teams, obviously, when they got this.
Joe and Jude, you go first.
No, go explain.
The guys that left in 2004 never came back to Australia.
Some of them are dead. No, that's true.
No. To be fair, that's actually a good point. That's a good point. It's different generations, man. Like that. I think one of the main things that we're what's the right word here?
Reminisce.
No. One things that we're kind of counting upon for second tier clubs is you talk about how you love. Who would you go to games with? Your old man or yeah. So in your family, it's gone down the generation. There are some families where that might have been the last line where they stopped going to games of any sort for their club or anywhere in the Australian football landscape, and you've got so many fans from that era that didn't feel that they got to pass it on to the next generations or something. So
also lost people to different codes in between.
100%, yeah.
That's the
If
point.
that's where they went,
I
yeah.
work with Greeks. The firm I work at is probably 80% Greek.
Yeah.
Now my manager specifically was a diehard Olympic fan, and she's told me she used to come to every single game. Now she's I think she's close to 50.
Yeah.
She doesn't care anymore. I told her, I'm like, you're coming back to these games. It's that generation, our parents' generation, that I think we've lost in the midst of all of this. And I think what you're trying to get across
So
how are you going to bring these
for
guys
argument's sake, amazing opportunity now. They've got the spotlight. They've got what they wanted, as you guys said, through pressure. How do we get them back? What's your bargaining? What's your pitch? How do you sell it to them?
I think getting them back isn't that hard. I think the thing's keeping them there. I think a lot will come and check out.
He's good.
It's the best part. He's good.
AFN News,
look, it's an exciting thing, right? You ever seen Toy Story when they throw away the toys, but when they get them out to play, they get excited again?
Yeah.
It's like that, okay? So imagine your club's being shoved in the closet for 20 years. It's been opened again and you want to go back. You're going to go back once. But if you rock up and it's a shit experience, across the board, team result
not even
really
if it's
matter
shit,
that
bro.
much.
It could be amazing, but some might not. Like they've gone back and then they're like, and then it just falls off again.
Okay,
If that isn't the intro, you fell.
and then
the Toy Story.
And then, do you target it to kids then? Do you target it to, for example, your first point? I know we've talked about wanting to target it to more than just, say, for example, this club.
You got to cater for all, man. It's such a wide age range.
But is that the way in? Where, for example, you put it out on social media, like for example, they start doing little challenges here and there, and a little Greek kid sees that there's a player there that has a similar last name to him. It's not going to be hard for him to turn around, Mum, I want to go to Belmore Sports Ground on Saturday. I want to watch his team play. They're Greek just like me. What do you think drew me to the Bulldogs?
What did draw you to the Bulldogs?
The one Lebanese player in the league. Now, I yearn for that. What's funny about that?
No, I don't know what you just did.
Get the one from the sideline.
For his conversions. But relatability, I think that's what's missing.
But again, to go back to that point, as Joe sort of said earlier, how do we get him there? So we get him there. You're saying that's the easy part. Jude, how do we keep him there?
Oh, I got the hard one. Brilliant.
Harry's got both. He's got both.
No, look, I think that's where it's the beautiful part about how this year is 2025 is going to be so trial and error with the getting people back, all the different, like I interjected just then, apologies, but just about it's got to be all age groups that you target.
I think a way for you to think about it is like, say you had mates from England come over. Yeah. What do you think would be determining factors in them? All right, you could get them to one game. Yeah. What would be determining factors in them coming back to you and going, oh, when's the next game?
To a second tier game?
Yeah.
Or to just any sort of Australian football game? Because I see, trust me,
the amount of
Brits that I see that go to A-League games literally just to get on the piss, and because they've there's football, it's a quick Google search. Like, this is where we struggle, and I said this on Cody's pod a few months ago, is that there's not that much of a difference between Australian football and football in many other countries around the world. The only difference is how much everyone knows, every like average Joe Blow knows about just how deep the story runs. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It is easy for someone travelling here to go, what's the football team? Sydney FC, calm. SydneyFC.com, tickets, go to Allianz, get a few bevs, have a game day experience, and then they can say that they've ticked off Australian football. And as far as they're concerned, again, this is why I talk about us taking ourselves out of where our brains are and looking at it from the outside, as I said earlier. Just the difference between what football in Australia is to us versus what it is to the rest of the world. And I think that's why we're in blessed positions, and I love this community that we now have of so many people creating in so many various formats of media in this country, is because we some of the people that are taking that leap to make sure the stories are accentuated.
Yeah.
And so like someone can go on TikTok, and if they want to learn about football, they'll see one of our ugly mugs and they'll find shit for hours. Do you know what I mean? They can sit there and get lost in stories. You know, Joe's done some incredible pieces. If you want to see what it's like at the grassroots level, you got Harry's stuff as well. I'm somewhere in between doing whatever dumb shit I do. But do you know what I mean? It's the problem is really just about how much the story's out. And I think that's where marketing materials and media and the beautiful thing about the second division is that we can get these stories. Like this is what every club in the NSD will say to you. They're buzzing to be back on the national stage. What does that mean? Having their story back so widely known.
Okay, then before I get on to Harry, say it doesn't work out.
The NSD.
NSD. What do these clubs do themselves?
I don't know. Can we bother? Yeah, let's get past the first hurdle first and hope that it goes well. No, honestly, I think that's where clubs have obviously clubs have had to think about that. But I think it's energy wasted, especially now, to think about what happens if this doesn't work. To be fair, because this is
fuck me.
Yeah, man. Be buzzing about the fact that here we go. Like, do you know what I mean?
But it's just I think that it's more trust. The trust we've had with Australian football over the last 50 years and how things have gone. Now you're at a point where it's just in the back of your mind constantly. So that's just, I think.
Yeah, noted. It has to be in the back of the mind. But I think now, while attention should be, and especially now that we're talking about so close, that we're less than 12 months away from it all kicking off, the attention now is, fuck it, we're here. Let's make the absolute most of this opportunity.
We've got like you said, we've lost a lot of ground. We've lost a lot of trust, especially with those ethnic groups and stuff like that. And the beautiful part
20 years worth, man.
About Australia is we are ethnic. We have to appreciate that, and I think that's what the A-League killed off. We had Tom Samrani on. He said that, he summed it up in his beautiful Scottish accent. It was amazing. But Harry, to you, let's say we are there now. We're in there. We're less than 12 months out, as you said. How do we get in there? How do we get in there? How do we keep them there? How do we make sure that these ethnic groups come out and support their team?
Oh, okay, fuck. All right, so I'll load this one up.
Get comfy, lads. Get comfy.
No, all right. So for people at home, to give you a bit of context, I work for myself. I own my own marketing business. I'm in the midst of developing pitch for football clubs next year to work as a contractor. The main point for me, the reason why I'm developing a pitch now, the NSD kicks off in November. My pitch will be done within a few weeks and out in mid-January. The reason I'm developing it now is the clubs have to fucking start from February. I went to Marconi myself last year, went to multiple games and forced my way into the door. Did we end up getting along by the end of it? Maybe. But the thing is, I forced my way in and I said to them, if you want to succeed in the national second division, you best fucking start now. And you best believe they got me on content and they got more views than any NPL clubs ever got in their lives. It is the exact same thing. They need to have a modern approach and they need to start as soon as possible. So the main point I had with Marconi, I didn't sign an NDA, so I can go for my life. The main point I had with Marconi is the following. The players need to be players need to have personalities. So we need to build stories around the players. The players need to tell their stories, right? The boys in there, they all versed at least one baller. So the best clip that happened was I put up a fucking tripod with camera, put a piece of paper on it saying, who was the best player you ever versed? Jimmy Hilton walks out, first person, he says, Kobe Manu. Marco Yestic walks out next, and he says Hulk, right? Because he versed Guanzo. Nathan Milgate, big bold centre-back, he played Oscar because they played Guanzo in a thing. So all these players walked out, all of a sudden the clip's got 100K on each platform. Things like that. So it's the exact same. If these clubs need to start developing marketing plans from like now, like dead set now. I know we're 2 weeks out from Christmas, but it needs to start now and it needs to be rolling out throughout the NPL season. Mate, by the end of the Marconi season, I know they were playing good football, but like, fuck, I honestly think I was a big part of the reason why there was actually a few hundred people at every game. When I first got there, no shit, there was 50 people there, right? So they built it up, and then you saw it at the grand final. They had a lot of people there. I know Marconi's a big club. I'm not taking credit for it, but I'm saying like I have no doubt the content that was built out around it was a massive contributing factor in that. So I think clubs should start building that out. And I think, yeah, the main thing is a lot of clubs need to tap into the communities they're from. So like for me, off the top of my dome, if I was at RPR, all my marketing would be done in Leichhardt, and I'd be tapping into the people of Leichhardt for marketing ideas, man. That would be where I start. The other thing, I think that's a really key determining factor is the game day experience. I went to a Bangkok derby for a month ago now. The main thing I noticed, and I couldn't get it out of my head ever since, is that so the way you've got to get in is you go through this massive gate, right? And then you've got to walk through. Everyone's just like, there's food stalls on either side, all hot food. Drink stands everywhere, beer stands everywhere. You have to walk through all of that. People are pumping music and whatnot. That the experience of that I can't get out of my head. I know it sounds chaotic to some people, but trust me, if you were to develop something similar, if you come to Sydney Olympic and you walk through and there's souvlaki everywhere and there's is it gyros? Yeah, and other Greek food plus normal
music.
Aussie food that we have. Greek music playing. No, it doesn't even have to be Greek, right? Just normal decent, maybe some Action Bronson, God forbid, and then you're walking through and there's beers everywhere. I think you create a game day experience from the moment you walk in. Yeah. A major thing with Australian stadiums in the A-League, they're too big. In the NPL, all their notable things like the food, the music, the people are in the corners. Yeah.
And
you
the
need
vicinity
to have
right
that
near the
towards the entrance.
Do you know what, man? I'll back that as a pommy. I'll back that. There is no matchday precinct or nothing like on a walk to the ground, whether it's from your transport, from your car park, wherever. Your walk to the ground is really, man. It's hard to realise that there's a football game going on sometimes.
Lambert's
at all
good,
levels.
but Lambert's good purely by the fact they put their club shop and their canteen next to the front door. Yeah. Now people go, oh fuck, it's cramped. I'm waiting. Are you waiting in line? I'm not sure what I'm doing. Blah blah blah. Doesn't matter. You're there's an atmosphere created in that little corner when you walk in. That atmosphere, if enough people walk through the gate on the day, perpetuates. Oh, you tried on.
That's the producer for a reason.
Yeah. Wait, what was it? Perpetuates.
Oh man, the pitch was going so good, bro.
I failed English in my HSC, but it perpetuates the atmosphere for the rest of the day. I think that's a massive thing. You'd agree, man. Like some of the grounds you walk into, we walked into Unite round. Oh, last year. Quite a great man. I wanted to headbutt a rhino.
How we know?
Yeah, he said it.
No. But were you with me when I was waiting for Carluccio?
Yeah, I was with you up behind.
How dead was that?
It was dead.
Mm.
There was no.
That's the thing that NSD has gone for, just quietly, is the stadiums. Yeah. Brisbane Raw, I watched their game last week. Normally I watch teams because Jed's playing them, just to be completely honest, right? Wanderers sometimes I watch, but I watch Jed a fair bit. Yeah. Raw, someone like Raw are so far out of their fucking depth at Suncorp Stadium. It's also a bad look for Suncorp. I don't know why the deal's still going on. The teams that are getting it right, and God love them, is actually Western United. When you're not filling it out, it's not a good look. But once you do start filling out a 5,000 seater, it is an awesome look.
On the hill, especially.
Man, some of the teams in Championship.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
10,000.
That's why I love NPL. That's why I love NPL stadiums, man. I love NPL stadiums,
dude. At the stadium right now.
Bro, literally, it's the way I describe it. Literally, when I get home, I remember there's a couple of grounds. I'm trying to think. Sydney United off the top of my head is a prime example. But literally, when I started working with NPL, it was kind of I'd come home from a day and Mum's obviously asking how was your day and stuff like that. And I basically that's one of the ways I describe it to her. I was at this ground, it's a beautiful little ground. It reminds you of a League One, League Two ground. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I love that we've got so many of them. It's amazing.
For me, that's what resonates with me. It's coming. Well, look, I wasn't around enough when Belmont Sports Ground was kicking and going. I was born in 1999, so we were halfway out of there already. But you come into 2015. I started using it here. You go to grounds with hills, even the Wanderers Women's, the Wanderers Football Park. Fits about 900 people, but dear God, when it's filled out, it's like a cauldron.
That's
what I love about football. It's the feeling of the suburban grounds. Leichhardt, I think we talked about it about a month ago about the game.
Yeah.
For me, Leichhardt's one of my favourites. I know it's beat down, but you go there, you're so close to the field. You're sitting, it just feels like.
And it's the other way around as well. Players prefer it because it feels like your crowd's on top of it. Do you know what I mean? That's what who said that, Macca.
And they need to use more of it. But going back to when we first met, I met you at the Battle of Bosley.
Oh yeah, you did too. Yeah. And I remember that week, the promotion you done, that was done for it. It was in your face. Yeah. And that's what you need. Sydney Olympic, you're playing, I don't know, Marconi, they're coming here.
get in your face. Can you imagine? The Marconi fans coming down proper Italian music.
I just got a
through-
crazy picture in my head of that. That's
You know what I mean? You're
that's
walking down that
mad.
lane right there from the station,
Yeah.
and then the Belmore boys coming through over here. Like, it would be such
But
scenes.
then just quickly, it would be such scenes. And Jude, I can imagine that picture. It's a bit different to my picture, but
Yeah, I see. Yeah, I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
But in terms of, you walk in, there you go, you got a drum, drum's taken away, no problem. Okay, you got a speaker's taken away.
Okay,
One sec, speaker's taken away. God forbid there's a pyrotechnic or a flare, that's taken away.
Yeah.
So one sec, so what made the NSL so great, and our hope, and I think where that pressure that you guys were talking about, where that active support, and that's a topic we can delve into for 6 hours.
Yeah.
However, how do we get at least 10, 15, 20, 30%, 50% goal winning? How do we bring that back into because that in my opinion, is where the A-League
I'll raise you the point. A lot of these clubs own their stadiums. A lot of these clubs have to hire their own security, have to go through their own guidelines.
Yeah, but
And it's the clubs, I understand that, but it's the clubs getting a fresh page, being
Love
able to
these two
start
bickering,
again,
you know.
and being able to actually just navigate their way through it from the
All
start,
right,
set your boundaries.
Here's your answer. A press run dedicated to that age group. So it's not a social media run, it's a press run. It's a marketing strategy targeted at the age group you're talking about.
Okay.
So it's nothing to do with social media.
Yeah.
So you'd have to go to local bolos, you'd have to go to things like that.
Mm.
And you'd have to do a press run that way.
But now we've experienced in a trial by TV, where I like to call it, where everything you do is on a camera. There's 16 different angles on you,
Yeah.
and everything you do, you show one sort of support or ethnic behaviour or anything that's just a bit deemed unsocially conduct, you're gone.
Definitely.
Yes and no, bro. I've gone to Penrith Panthers matches my whole life. Some of
that's
the
different,
shit
brother.
people have done there is wild.
That's NRL.
Yeah, they do get away with
agree.
a lot more.
I agree, but it's still the same. It's still the same thing. People are going to do wild shit anyway. I don't think that'll be the major problem. I genuinely think the first problem is get people to worry about what people are going to do at a game. You got to get people to the fucking game. That's what you got to worry about, right?
Yeah.
So get people to the game, and then you worry about what they're going to do.
Am I wrong in saying that they want to take on I feel like football in Australia's got a poshy attitude but wants to play the ethnic way.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like we want to walk in with our scarves sometimes, just sit there, have a beer, have a coffee, a bit corporate about
That's
it.
your club.
No, but get out of here, man.
Man, I see you, Kenneth, every time you walk into Allianz.
If you want to keep,
Me and Jerry
listen,
Schultz.
if you're going to keep interrupting, I might as well walk out.
I'm sitting there. Come on, bro.
Anyway,
Sure.
I feel like there's a bit of that about it. There's a bit of Friday night, Sydney FC are playing. Guys, we've just finished work, 6 o'clock. Let's head to Allianz Stadium, let's have some drinks. But the football that wants to be played and we're earning for is the ethnic way. Now, where do you meet in the middle? And I think this is the last question before we move on, because this is going to be the big thing about the NSD, is that it's the support that's going to come through, and how can we allow it to come back how we had it before without all the issues.
Who wants to start?
Joe.
So are you talking about what do you play style wise? Are you saying?
No, in general, the culture of
Probably on and off the pitch.
yeah. Like, we obviously want to play football, the overseas way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've got a very poshy attitude about it, I think.
Oh, look, sporting culture in Australia is different to other countries.
We're bandwagoners, man.
Yeah, and we rock
Where we
up,
shouldn't be, where we
5
shouldn't
minutes
be.
after kickoff. Like, we don't pack out a stadium. And I was talking to someone the other day. They were in Germany last week, and they're watching Bayern Munich versus Leverkusen in the DFB Pokal, round of 16, and stadium was packed an hour before kickoff.
Yeah, man.
Chanting, all that. It'll never be that way here.
No.
And a lot of it's to do with, I guess for the A-League, a lot of it's to do with playing in summer as well. And you're not going to sit in the sun for an hour before the game even starts. But yeah, I think, I don't know how you really change that. It's against a cultural issue. Like, some things are bigger than the sport, but sport can play a role in changing it. And I think,
I agree, but like I said, this is from my experience as well. I know other NPL clubs were similar, where back in those days, you did have that support. You did have those marches, those chants.
Yeah.
And yes, some of them are antisocial behaviour, etc., etc. But how do we bring that back? Because we've got a massive opportunity here. We've got a really big opportunity to get a lot of people that we've lost.
Hold up. Do you want to bring it back through the generation that was lost, or do you want to bring it back through the new generation?
Through this generation.
Well, that generation that was lost really has brought the new generation to the world. So if you're going to bring one back, you're likely going to bring the other.
Shut up. You're right. It's gonna be a feeder effect.
It's a domino effect.
That's where I say that I think it's you're tying to you do certain campaigns that target X generation, certain campaigns that target that generation and that so on and so forth. I think it's such a wide scope that the beautiful opportunity here to get those that were here in the first place, those that were in the era that missed, and those that are here now witnessing it for the first time. I think that's the fucking beauty of it, man.
Great point.
I absolutely think that's the beauty.
If I was I'm going to drop some free game on you. If I was a club heading into the National Second Division, I would take current players and former players, the most notable of either. I would send them out to every amateur club once a week. Every single amateur club in our local area to go for free and train kids. And just, first of all, you just show face, you're also just training the kids, right? You're doing a good thing regardless. That, just as a marketing move, is how you would garner such a huge local audience. Clubs, the clubs that are in the NSD, I'm not going to name names, they are so fucking greedy, man. They do not care about anyone else in their area. There's things like that you can do. Like, so if I'm a Sydney United, right, I would take some of the most, say I'm a Melbourne Knights, I'm going up. He obviously doesn't live in the country, owns a coffee shop in Croatia. But like if Viduka was here, the main thing is I would chuck a bunch of money at him and I go, all right, I need you to go to these 5 local junior clubs this week. I need you to go to all these clubs in our area and I need you to show face and talk to them. And you just have to be wearing Melbourne Knights stuff and talk, and eventually you link it around to the fact Melbourne Knights are
if the call to action's done right, if the actual follow up that is given, you know what I mean? Like being there is going to be a conversation after school. The follow up from that.
Marco Jesic in a few years' time is probably going to retire. Have him work around the club. Send him to AC United. Send him to Mounties every now and then.
Yeah, 100%.
People remember it. You know the beat. You see the beat. Like it's the first thing you remember. Send him. Let the kids be like, oh my gosh, Marco Jesic is going to be at the game. He's going to be doing activation. Like it's just engaging. I think the key word here, we need to engage people. And I feel like we've got not so much a job to do, but I feel like with what we do, we're trying our best to help push this game, help raise the issue. But at the same time, it's whether these clubs can come back. We're not the club. None of us are.
Yeah, but we're also we are, I think, the middle ground between what, like I said before, we're the ones that are football people. We know that what's happened. And there are so many people out there that don't. That's why I love the position that we've manufactured for ourselves, boys. Like, it's the fact that we're here in a case where we're able to be the messenger in a way and excite people, man. Because I know for every fucking person here, it comes natural. Like, we're football people.
To quote the great CM Punk joke.
Yeah.
We're the voice of the voiceless.
That's it. Wrestling references.
Straight up, man. I love that.
Before we go into a 3-hour podcast of wrestling, basically, where's my camera theories? We've got this opportunity. Excuse the word. Let's not fuck it up. All right. The NSDCR.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it turned out to what the pressure has.
Diamond makes pressure makes diamonds. Man.
Yeah, that one.
We got there in the end. We got there in the end. I'm excited, man.
For it?
Ooh.
Yeah,
why not this early?
Why not?
Actually, hold up. All right, we'll do 4 predictions. We'll give it to this guy here. Give us one. Who do you think will be the 8 invitationals?
Ooh, okay.
Oh, great.
I think it'll be Rockdale, New South Wales.
Bro, this guy's knowledge is fucking wild.
Yeah, no, that's valid. That's absolutely valid.
In Queensland, I would
Go
bet
the
the house
Knights,
on Gold Coast Knights. They've made some big recruitments in the off season.
Is Scott McDonald still there?
Ooh, he might be. He might be there. I'm
Canberra.
pretty sure they picked up Marquez Walters.
Yeah.
Oh,
man.
Golden Boot winner. Scored a couple goals in Australia.
Canberra will be Gungahlin, I reckon.
I reckon
And
Canberra,
George will go.
Croatia down there.
That's true.
They were interested
They
in the they applied to be a foundation club as well, actually. So did Gungahlin. Victoria, there's a lot that aren't in it, so that's kind of the.
It's
that's
more so a
wide
case of
open
who would
down
want
there.
it out of those that hadn't gone for it.
You reckon Oakley?
I've got a shout for you. Heidelberg, yes or no?
Heidelberg. I mean, maybe.
Wait, who got
Had a good run in the cup?
Was it Heidelberg that got
Dandy.
Dandy.
Dandy. Yeah.
See, Harry? I know.
Who else we got over in Western Australia? I know. What are they?
Perth.
The
Perth
green
SC.
team. Inglewood.
Oh.
No, not Inglewood.
Olympic,
Kingsway.
wasn't it?
Olympic Kingsway.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one.
They've got some gun players out there. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, bro. Their recruitment last year was
Liam
mad.
Boland, who's like the Australian Cup
Yeah.
all-time leading goal scorer.
Yeah.
Joe Knowles, who was at Brisbane Roar, I'm pretty sure was there as well. Yeah, they got a gun team. And that bloody guy who
Bro, they had this
Who's
one.
that guy who used to play for Celtic?
Oh, Lee Griffiths.
Lee Griffiths.
Yeah.
I like that he's there
Is
as
he
well.
still
Yeah.
kicking?
Yeah, he's playing over
Yeah.
everybody Western Australia.
Yeah.
But he's out of
Um,
shape. He's out of shape.
Yeah, and then I don't know who we got left. South Australia, probably Metro Star, or Adelaide City actually would be cool, but I don't know if they're.
It'll be between them two, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They knocked out Wanderers, eh? Fuck, first year.
Who?
Adelaide. Let's see.
Adelaide City.
No, Metro Stars knocked
No, it was Wanderers in there.
When?
They both had. They
MacArthur.
both.
2014 Grand Final.
They both had good dubs.
Who?
Well,
What
yeah.
are you talking about right now?
Adelaide City, they knocked out West City Wanderers.
No. You mean no.
No, it was Adelaide.
Adelaide United.
No, bro. No, he's right.
Adelaide
2014.
2014,
Yeah,
Adelaide City
yeah.
knocked out.
Was it one?
Was it
nil?
Adelaide?
Yeah, Adelaide City.
Oh shit.
Alright, now it just sounds like a
Adelaide.
ball knowledge
Yeah,
wanker.
yeah,
Like,
wow.
fucking
Anyway,
move
about
on.
the Wanderers as well.
Yeah. What?
Harry, since you perfectly put that question on to Jude, I'm going to throw one back to you. Then we'll go there.
Yeah.
We'll go for 3 hours. Out of those 16 teams, the 8 in the invitation that Joe suggested, who takes it out 2025? First year.
Depends who I'm going to be working with. Fuck.
Is that
Don't burn no bridges. Yeah.
Who's the
I'm not
pitch-
working at my training, so they're
who's
not
the
getting
pitch
my
looking
vote.
forward to?
I don't know, eh? It's because I don't know how the 8's going to get split. That's the other thing. That's probably the biggest determining
But
factor.
paper alone, reputation.
Well,
But
signings
squads
aren't
ain't
done
even.
yet,
Yeah,
eh?
straight up. It's about who. I think we collectively, if we just say this, it's about who utilizes the resources that they've got to the
I think
best.
Sydney-
Like,
I think
Yeah.
Sydney United, eh? Like, there's
Yeah.
something about the way they can garner a crowd and what they did in the Australia Cup that's obviously never been done. I think they'll step up to the plate. They've also got a very senior squad with like good young guys.
And Ante Juric is the coach there now.
yeah.
Which I think
But
people
like,
sleep
when
on.
you got like Intelmi, De Oliveira, things like that, like players like that, I just think straight away like
Yeah.
you're
They'll be
in
up
for a
there.
shout. Whereas Marconi, like they operate at a level like Costanzo probably won't stay.
Yeah,
If he
real.
keeps playing the way he's playing, same with Franco Meyer, the A-League clubs will grab him.
Yeah, bro. I'm
JT,
surprised I ain't already.
Yeah, JT's already gone.
Yeah.
Marco's on his last legs. Millgate retired, and Yuli's injured. So there's 6 of your starting 11 that won the NPL that I'm not sure if they're going to be there, right?
Yeah.
So
that's right.
same with Jimmy Hilton. I think an A-League club will grab him soon. So it's
Yeah.
very much Sydney United are in a good position of like they finished 4th in the NPL, but they also have all these resources, and beyond that, they have a very supportive community.
Yeah.
Another idea for the NSD just quickly is I think foundational clubs, their third kit should be a retro kit.
Oh, mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, because there's been like, I'm sure every single one of us here will just go out of their way. to
Caleb?
support.
Speaking of that,
Yeah, he's on it. Yeah,
what
straight
a
up.
wonderful kid you have on, Jude.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. And thank you again to Caleb, because this just, like, man, the resources that we opened a box and it was like, oh my God, mad. So thank you, Caleb. Appreciate
just FYI, Caleb will be he'll be
Producing?
No, not producing. Conducting. He'll be conducting all these
bag search
checks
after.
around. So,
Yeah, shut up. Yeah.
I've seen Jude stuff a few things down his pants.
No, bro, shut up, man.
If anyone,
You're supposed to tell him, man.
hold up, if there's anyone still watching, I don't know if you can see it, but
Thanks, Val.
no, but you know what you
Back up, Alec.
Yeah, that's
in
fair.
the background, we're in the Sydney Olympic like trophy room. In the background, there's all these flags of clubs or like clubs they've collaborated with, I suppose. So there's all these Greek clubs like Newey Jets.
Newey Jets,
Jets
I
is
love-
probably
I
not
love
the
the
best
Jets.
one. Tom, reach up and grab some other ones maybe. Like
Yeah, Joe, grab that one.
that. See, you got
That
all
is
these.
Sydney Olympic, bro.
Yeah, you just grab the word like the 2 most obvious. But there's clubs from
Oh,
everywhere,
Gungahlin.
so- yeah.
There we go.
But he's yet to grab an international club. There we go.
There we go.
Shanghai. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's all these clubs that Sydney Olympic have come across paths with, and they've traded off merchandise with FC20 from
Yeah.
Holland. And then this room is hectic, man.
Nice.
I'm sure if you ask nicely and you DM Sydney Olympic on Instagram and you actually wanted to tour, you want to do photos in here for whatever reason, I'm sure Caleb and the team at Sydney Olympic would be happy to host you. And yeah, shout out Sydney Olympic for hosting us, man. They're very welcoming.
And shout out Gungahlin.
They're on the
Ship
forefront,
to
man.
gold.
The guy behind it, Kay the Saint, is very much like, get in contact with him. If you're looking to do NSD work and you want to start at a club and you want to start making videos somewhere, start with Sydney Olympic because there's a guy in charge that's making it happen.
Well,
Shout out to Caleb. Everyone just
Yeah.
just quick up for Caleb.
Here.
Thank you, brother. On that note, boys, it's been one hell of an episode. It's been a longer discussion than we've expected.
No, good, man. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
But it's always good to get everyone together. I'm sure between now and next October, I'll probably come sit down again and we'll have a discussion about God knows what
Yeah,
other
man.
topics.
Should
that
do a
come
weekly
through.
show.
But guys, you got to check them out. Check out Joe. Check out Jude. Check out Fal.
Yeah.
Everyone's in their own. You know, we're all doing football, but
Yeah.
everyone's doing their own little thing. And let's be honest here, you know, everyone's doing great things.
Yeah, just
Thank you,
on
man.
that, just from a massive UBO from Jules, Matt, myself and Abz, just a massive thank you to you three coming out on the
Thanks
show.
for listening.
Yeah.
Boys.
And hopefully Mata starts today and gets
And Mark Anderson scores a hat trick.
Oh, there we go. Back on it.
And can we say a big welcome back to Jude? Welcome back.
Thank you, brother.
Well missed. Well missed.
Thanks for having me, lads.
Thanks,
And,
boys. Appreciate it.
yeah, just before I go, if you think Mata shouldn't start in the A-League, you're a fucking idiot.
You're not closing on that.
We have been here. Thank you, Joe. Dear God. It is off. It is off.
This game, the game, has been passed down to us from our grandparents, great-grandparents, uncles, brothers, sisters, mothers and father. Football runs through us like blood does in our veins. We are united by football. So, this October, we will witness the revival of what our ancestors built and imagined for us. Our homes, our communities and our teams, back on the national tier, where they belong.